create in your imagination an army of invisible guides who will take care of all your needs and all your desires. And there they are. You've heard me speak of my invisible guides. And if you weren't in this philosophy, if you didn't understand metaphysics, you probably would say that was a very fantastic system that I worked out. But I'll assure you it's not a fantastic system. I'll assure you that it looks after all of my needs and all of my wants. I'll admit that last week I became a little bit careless, and the guide to sound physical health let me down for a day or two, but I did something about it. I came to his rescue. I gave him a jab in the ribs and woke him up, and believe you, I've got more energy now than I've had since we started this course. So it's a good thing that I had that little cold, because it made me a little bit more particular to express gratitude to this guide of sound physical health, not neglecting. Now, I fully realize that these guides are the creation of my own imagination. I'm not kidding myself or anybody else about that. But for all practical purposes, they represent real entities and real people, and each one is performing the exact duty that I assigned to him, and is doing it all the time. The first of these guides is the guide to physical sound health. Why do you suppose I put that as number one? Fine. What in the world could the mind do going around in a body that has to be supported by crutches all the time? A good, strong physical body is the temple of the mind, and it has to be sound. It has to be healthy. There has to be plenty of energy there. When you turn on the old enthusiasm button, and if there's no energy there, you can't generate something out of nothing. You've got to have a store of energy, and energy is physical. It's physical in nature, and it's also mental in nature. But I don't know of anybody who can express intense enthusiasm whose body is a series of aches and pains. So the first duty to yourself is to your physical body, to see that it responds to all of your needs at all the times, does the thing that it was supposed to do, and you need a little bit more help than just what you can give during the day, because when you lay your body down, then nature goes to work on it, to give it a tune-up and a working over. And you have to have this trained entity called the Guide to Sound Health to do that job, to supervise it, and to see that it's done properly. And then this number two, the Guide to Financial Prosperity. Why do you suppose I put that second in importance only? Do you know of anybody that can be of any great service to others without money? How long can you get along without money? No, you've got to have money. You've got to have a money consciousness. And this entity that you're building up here through this guide gives you a money consciousness. My guide is so controlled, however, that he doesn't make money my God. I don't permit that. I don't permit myself to become greedy, to want an over amount for money, or to pay too much for the money that I get. I pay enough, but not too much. I know people who pay too much, who die too young, because they put too much effort into accumulating money that they didn't need and couldn't use. The only purpose it could serve would be to cause their descendants to fight over it after they were passed on. Now, that's not going to happen to me. I want enough, but not too much. And this guide, it's his business to see that I stop when I get enough, and that I don't want too much. Do you know this money-getting business becomes a kind of a vicious circle with a lot of people. It becomes a vicious circle. You get in it and you say, well, I'll make my first million and I'll quit. I remember the time when Bing Crosby announced to his brother, who's his manager, when they made the first $50,000, that was enough, and they're going to quit. Well, got down to where they make over $1 million every year now, and they're still working harder than they ever did before, struggling in a rat race. I'm not speaking in a derogatory manner, you understand, of Bing. Bing's a friend of mine, and I greatly admire him, but I'm speaking of all people in that category who pay too much for trying to get things that they don't need. Now, this is a philosophy dealing with economic success. But success wouldn't consist in your destroying your life and dying too young because you tried to get too much of anything. Stop when you get enough. Make better use of the things you have right now instead of trying to get a lot of more things that you're not going to make any use of at all. Oh, what a wonderful thing it is, that statement that comes out of the Bible. I won't translate it to verbatim, but the meaning of it is not too much, not too little of anything. Not too much, not too little, just enough of everything. Want to learn what is enough, not too much. That's one of the blessings of this philosophy. It gives you a balanced life. You learn what is enough and what's too much. Then the next one is the most important, the guide to peace of mind. What good would it be to you if you had everything, if you owned everything in the world and could collect a royalty from every person living if you didn't have peace of mind? What good would it be? Now, the reason I'm emphasizing these points along here, my friends, is that I've had the privilege of knowing intimately the most outstanding and the most successful and the richest men that this country has ever produced. I mean, sleeping in their houses, eating with them, knowing their families and their wives and their children, and seeing what happened to their children after they died and passed on. I've seen all of that. And I know the importance of learning to live a balanced life so that you can have peace of mind as you go along, and so that you can make your occupation or your daily labor, whatever it is, a game that you're getting joy out of. Not something to be abhorred and dreaded, but a game, if you please, that you play as ardently as a man would play a game of golf or some other game that he loves. I have always said that one of the sins of civilization consists in the fact that so few people are engaged in a labor of love, thing that they like to do. Most people are doing things because they have to eat and sleep and have some clothes to wear. But when a man or a woman gets in a position where he or she can do the thing that is being done for the sake of love because they want to do it, I want to tell you they're really fortunate. And this philosophy leads to that very condition. But you'll never attain that position until you learn to maintain a positive mental attitude at least a major portion of your time. Out of all of those men that collaborated with me in the building of this philosophy, and they represented every outstanding success in every field, you might say, of that era. Out of all of those men, there was only one that I could say that even vaguely approached having peace of mind along with his other successes. John Burroughs undoubtedly was the one that came nearest it. I would say the one that came next nearest to it was Mr. Edison, and I would place Mr. Carnegie as number 3. And I'll tell you why he takes position number 3. In the latter part of his years, he practically lost his mind trying to find ways and means of disgorging himself of his fortune and giving it away to where it would do no harm. It almost drove him crazy. His obsession, his major obsession in the latter part of his days was to get this philosophy well organized while he was living and into the hands of the people so it would provide them with the know-how by which they could acquire material things, including money, without violating the rights of other people. That's what he wanted more than anything else in the world.